it's Cam.
And Hannah.
I use they, them pronouns.
And I use she, her pronouns.
We are recording on Seminole
and IS land.
And we are conservation
baddies. This is a podcast where we talk, inform, and highlight some baddies that we know in the conservation field.
So I went for an unconventional, wait, what the hell? Unconventional. See, I guess it's like technically an animal, right? Like it's an invertebrate called Elysia marginata and like a few other species. The genus is Elysia, and it's a sea slug that will decapitate themselves in order to grow a new body. And the reason why they do that is to rid themselves of parasites. So I looked more
excessive,
right? It reminded me of like how pearls are made. Like they just make a bunch of like heavy. Why do they do that? Heavy pearls in their body to like get rid of or attack the parasites.
I thought it was a buildup of dirt.
No, it's a defense mechanism. Maybe I should do that next week. But
yeah.
So the head can survive weeks without the body, and then the bodies don't regenerate a head. But since like they don't really need the head, I guess, they just grow like a bigger body.
And become what?
A headless slug. No, they don't die. They regrow the heart, the kidneys, the intestines, and
what the heck?
everything.
But how does that even help with the parasite then? I thought they were getting rid of their body to X off the parasites.
Yeah, so they leave the body with the parasite behind.
But then that body is still alive and thriving.
I guess until it dies.
Can you tell that it's headless, or does it just look the same?
Wait, maybe I'm getting it wrong.
I don't know. I've never heard of this snail.
So, okay, I think I got it reversed. Okay, I read it wrong. So the head, like when they decapitate themselves, the body has the parasite in it, right? The head is what regrows like into a new body.
That's what you said.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
you were just saying that the body also like doesn't die, like it's its own thing. It just doesn't have a head.
Oh, well, yeah, they don't need a head. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, but I didn't find out any information about that part. It's a good question.
I don't know why I'm like drilling you on this, like you were the one who discovered this thing.
You made me question everything.
No, I'm sorry. I was just curious. So
slugs shed them and grow new bodies, parasite free. Yeah, I can't find anything about the original body. Yeah.
That's actually pretty insane.
Right? I wish I could do that.
I wish I could do that too. Mine's kind of similar to yours. Were you done? My weird animal is just snails, not like a specific snail, but I learned a while ago that snails, I don't know if they have the most or one of the animals that has the most teeth. It's just so random. But they have 14,000 teeth on average, like a garden snail.
Ew.
Which seems like a lot. Yeah. And they're microscopic apparently. They're called radula, and they're just made out of like cartilage, I guess. And there's like muscle, I think, from what I was reading. But I just think it's really funny because like they have so many teeth and they're so tiny. And why do they need teeth? They're just eating leaves. But I think it's kind of cute, but it's kind of freaky to think of.
Where are their teeth on their body? Like on the underside?
It's underside. They have like, and their jaw. They have like a jaw. It's not that scientific of a term. I don't know how I forgot. But apparently like the teeth just help them scrape stuff off of surfaces. But yeah, it's like on their underside, kind of like stingrays. They don't look as cute as stingrays though.
That's mean.
I know that was mean. But stingrays look like they're smiling at you.
True.
And the squirrel just looks like a blob, and it's like a little bit of a different color. Oh, I said squirrel.
Garden squirrel.
Oh my gosh. I meant snail. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, but that's my animal.
That's
14,000
weird
teeth.
because I don't know if you've ever done this, but I've let like snails like climb on my body before, and I've never felt teeth.
I haven't actively let a squirrel climb on me, but
What is with the squirrel?
oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Can we move on? Because
Okay,
I'm just gonna keep saying squirrel. I don't know why I'm so stuck on squirrels right now. Maybe I should do squirrels on the next episode.
Yeah, I was just about to say there's some cool squirrels.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool squirrels.
Okay, yeah,
So
I did a little research. So I'm gonna be talking about like a few things and mostly just bringing up like some statistics too. So I'm not gonna get into details, but like if anyone wants to research further, like I highly suggest that. And I'm gonna be honest, I focus on like indigenous groups in Latin America because that's like a personal like interest of mine. But back when we first planned this out in September, it was the International Day of Indigenous Women,
oh my god. I didn't
which
realize we planned it back then.
which made me want to look into it further. And when I did look into it, I found out this statistic that I don't know if I said this in the last podcast. I probably did, right?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Okay. More than 20 fossil fuel projects have been stopped or delayed that equal to at least 25% of the annual US and Canada emissions by indigenous resistance, and that's mostly protests blocking pipelines, most famously recently, I guess, the Line 3. So I have an article on that we will link. And then I have an article from the United Nations, and it said it was kind of talking about what we have already recognized is that indigenous communities tend have this way of understanding how to live sustainably on their land. And when at least the US, I don't know as much about other places, but when the US displaced the native and indigenous groups on the land, obviously we were not using the land sustainably. And I think like our saviors, the reason why we're doing this episode is indigenous groups. We need to give them reparations, give them back their land so that they can be the stewards that they were in the past, especially in the United States, like I said. And I wanted to shout out specifically the Melanesians from the Solomon Islands. And they use a combination of agroforestry, which is really cool. It's like the name suggests, it's kind of like agronomics and forestry. I was super into this for a while because it's basically like food forests. So you're just like like you're planting what you're gonna eat. And then they have wild food gathering and fishing that generates 70% of their dietary needs. So most of what they're eating is just what they've like either caught or planted. And in Finland, the Inari Sami people generate 75% of the protein they need through fishing, hunting, and herding. But I have a short video that I'll link. It's about the Chaski Warmi of the Abayala, and they actually, in Spanish, they're the Mujeres Mensajeras por un Abayala. I think it's pronounced Libre de Minería, and that just means like free from mining. And it's a network of indigenous women, obviously. Like, the translation of it is like women messengers. And they traveled in 2016 to the UN climate change negotiations, famously. So they're super cool. I have a video that's an hour, and then I have a summary of that video that's only 5 minutes. And oh my gosh, I forgot to translate Abya Yala. Means in the Guna language, which is the language of the nation of Guna people. It's just basically land in its full maturity or land of vital blood. So again, they're the women messengers of freeing basically the land. It's just
they're women?
yeah, they're all women, but these are just like a few examples across like Finland, Latin America, US, Canada. These are all indigenous people, and the people that I brought up were also mostly indigenous women, and they are the ones that are going to save this planet. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Unfortunately, in 2016, it's estimated that 200 environmental activists were killed, and that was an increase from 185 in 2015. And of those murders, 40% were indigenous people and 60% were in Latin America, which is another reason why I wanted to focus on Latin American, because there's a lot of like issues with like illegal mining and all that stuff, and like not saying we don't go through issues like that here, but like a lot of them get killed, like they don't have the privileges that some people here have. So not saying that like indigenous people aren't getting killed here, I'm just saying like there's like bigger, like the government is completely corrupt.
Okay, so I guess when you were first talking about like their farming practices and like a lot of like different indigenous like farming practices that are sustainable, it just reminds me about how it's not that hard to like live with the land. You just can't be greedy, because I'm trying to say that, like, okay, when I was a kid, one thing that I always stuck on was like how lions and stuff like that, like they just didn't go murdering every antelope they saw. You know what I mean? Like in nature videos, they're not always hunting. Like they weren't always trying to get everything for themselves. They just like hunted when they needed to, and they like chilled most of the other time. And um it's just like the complete opposite of like what our society has become. It's like we just need to have everything, you know what I mean? And so I don't know. That's just what the sustainable practices kind of reminded me of, like just like taking what you need, like farming what you need, but that's it. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever like it's kind of interesting because I feel like I don't know if I'm in like a bubble on social media of people who are just really into like farming and all that. I feel like it might be a bubble because part of me is like, oh, there's hope. Like a lot of people really seem to want to start their own farms and like, you know, not rely on grocery stores and all this other stuff. A, because it's like really expensive, but also because capitalism. But I don't know. I don't know how truly that like translates into actual society.
Yeah, I feel like also I don't want to make it seem like farming is possible for everybody,
Yeah.
because like that's also a privilege in itself, because a lot of people, I think it would be awesome, especially for people in food deserts, but like it takes a lot of time and effort that like a lot
Oh
of us
yeah.
don't have because of the culture like we've made, like you were saying, like just this capitalist like consumer culture where you're just like you're buying all your food and rarely do you ever like eat something that you've grown yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah, farming is really hard. I tried growing bell peppers and cucumbers this year, and they both died within several weeks.
no.
Courtesy of ants, because I hate ants and they ate everything. So yeah, it's like you're not out there like mending to them. Yeah, it's really hard. Man,
I hope you try again soon. I don't know what's in season.
that was well, it's like that I tried last year and the same thing kind of happened, but I have two pineapples, so they're growing very, very strong. I think they've been growing for like almost a year, So there were 2 pineapples that I bought from the grocery store, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna propagate these because why not? Like I like pineapples, and I knew it took like several years for like pineapples to come from a plant.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm still like in the waiting period, but those are thriving. So like there's some things. It's just like I don't know how people are doing this and then providing for themselves all year round because A, things that aren't in season, and B, like I don't know. My parents have fruit trees and they only give fruit for like a couple months out of the whole year, you know? So you have to have like a lot of things on rotation.
Right. I don't know much about farming either, but like aren't there some crops that are all year long, like in season?
Oh, probably. See, I don't even know. I'm just used to tropical things, like where my dad is from, and those things are always like have a season, I think, at least in Florida.
But what you're referring to is also like called subsistence farming.
Hmm.
I don't know if do you know?
I haven't heard of it, no.
Okay, yeah, so that's where like everything that you're growing is basically used for you and your family, and then like the little extra that you have is like sold. So
Mm.
they like completely survive off year round, and I don't know how they do it. Like I don't know
Yeah,
either.
I don't know
But
how you do that with a full-time job.
well, so yeah, that would be the reason why this would not be possible is because like this would be like you don't need a job, like you're growing everything you need. But
Hmm.
since we're living again in like a consumer culture, like they're trying to sell us stuff that we don't really need, like TVs and like I'm not saying I would live without a TV. I'm just saying we don't need it. Like all this other stuff. And like so then we have to get currency to buy that.
Yeah,
Um, but
it
maybe you
just like
could with
snowballs.
the extra like food that you make, you could buy stuff.
Trade. Let's go back to trading.
I always think about that. I'm like, I wish I could just trade. Like, I wish I could go to the store and be like, I can't pay for this right now. Like, I'll work a few hours in your store, or
That would be
like, I'll
awesome.
do you a favor later.
Yeah, I owe you.
That'd
Hey,
be great.
can I get this can of beans? I owe you. Just kidding.
That's another
I don't
thing
know why
that's
I said
gone
just
from the
kidding.
culture. I don't want to go too far on a tangent, but
Oh.
remember like I remember growing up with like the IOU notes.
Yeah.
We don't
Yo,
use
so I know
those.
this. I remember a girl from middle school who still owes me $1. Yeah, I
Let's
never
call her
forgot.
out. What's her full name and
No, I'm not
address?
gonna call her. I remember her full name, but I'm not gonna say it because then I sound like a crazy person. I think I was in
Please,
like 8th grade.
you
I was
have to
selling
email
chocolates
her.
or candy for bands, and everybody on my bus wanted like the candy, and they're like, "I owe you." She never gave it back to me.
She was the only
Mm.
one that didn't pay you back.
I mean, yeah, at least the only one that I can remember, probably because I thought she was my friend, but apparently not.
Ooh,
Just kidding.
oh my gosh.
But okay, so you know how I'm reading this Project Drawdown book, which it's very dense.
Is it?
And
How many
okay, maybe not
pages?
dense. How many pages? 230 something.
Oh my
It like
gosh.
starts going into like some other stuff. Yeah, it's like around 200. But I guess not dense. I could see this being a class textbook because it's just a lot of information and they go through a lot of different like climate solutions. But I thought it was really cool because they have indigenous peoples land management as one of the climate solutions in here. Which I think is really cool because I'm like, thank you, like this is a legit like solution, like because I feel like a lot of people overlook it. But I just thought that was cool. They just have a bunch of statistics in here and numbers. It says that their analysis, so the analysis that they made for Project Drawdown, assumes higher rates of carbon sequestration, which is carbon being like sucked in by trees and the earth and like being held there. So there's higher rates of that and lower rates of deforestation on land managed by indigenous peoples, which just says if forest land under secure tenure grows by 909 million acres by 2050, reduced deforestation could result in 1.6 gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions avoided. So I think it's just saying that if indigenous peoples have more land to manage and like are given more land back by 2050, it could grow to 9.9 or 909 million acres of land that hold 6.1 gigatons of carbon. Yeah, because like so each of these climate solutions in this book, they have like a ranking and the results that they'll have by 2050. So they're saying that if more indigenous people get their land back, the amount of CO2 reduced by 2050 will be 6.1 gigatons, and the amount of CO2 protected from the air, like so CO2 that doesn't go back into the atmosphere, would be 850 gigatons. Just because like you just give land back to the correct people because of the way that they farm and the way that they like take care of it by not killing trees.
Right.
Yeah, it says that literature suggests that lands that are managed by indigenous peoples store up to 30% of the world's soil carbon and have the potential to sequester significantly more carbon under improved rangeland management practices.
Damn.
I mean, the numbers are crazy to me. I'd have to go to they have a methodology section in the back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'd have to go look to see exactly what they did. It doesn't really look very well. It's only a couple pages, which is why I'm confused. I don't know if they must have calculated all of these the same way, so it was like a fair calculation, like, you know what I mean? I don't really know if they like took data that's already been like stored, or if they just took previous data about how much like forests sequester carbon versus, you know, when a forest is cut down, how much carbon is released. I'm assuming there's been studies on that.
Yeah, I feel like, there's been like a lot of studies about like climate change and carbon and everything.
Okay, it says that right now, indigenous and community-owned lands represent 18% of all land area, like globally.
Yikes.
Including 1.6 billion acres of forests. And those forests, so only the 18% of land that they have, those forests contain 37 billion tons of carbon stock. So like in the soil. Yeah. I was reading this while I was like getting my car serviced, and I'm just like, yo, this is insane. The numbers are so high. And the fact that like we know how important large forests are for climate change and reversing it. It's crazy to me that we know there's papers and articles, and everybody, at least everybody in our field, I feel like people outside of conservation know this too. At least politicians, they have to know this. People have to have told them this, that like forests are like the biggest carbon sink, you know what I mean, like the biggest source of carbon sink, but yet they're not trying to stop deforestation or any of that. It's just crazy to me, because you sit there and ask like, we need to find a solution, and it's like there are so many solutions. Just pick a couple and start like going to work on them.
Right.
But
Where
that's
did
just me
like
ranting.
the icebergs stand?
What do you mean?
Like, I know they're a huge thing of carbon too. I just
Oh,
wonder like what the difference is.
Like by how much carbon they
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That could be another day.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
just
we
now
already...
reminding me that I had to remember to say something about that from the last episode.
Oh, really? Okay.
I wrote it at the top of the notes. Because you remember how I mentioned those reflective beads last episode, and they're like making these beads and they reflect the sun's rays back into the atmosphere so the ice doesn't melt.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, what are they made out of? They're made out of glass. Well, the same like elements, silicon dioxide, which is the same thing that's made to use glass. So it's not plastic. I just to clarify.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. And then so I don't know how much carbon. I know that icebergs are a huge carbon sink, and so is the ocean, and it's because of algae. I love algae. And so, sorry. Every time I mention algae, I just have to say I love it. I don't know how much. I know that those two are like a forest and ocean are pretty big. So, it tends to be, at least from what I see, it tends to be the things that look or seem like they're not doing anything that are doing the most. So if you're laying in bed and you're not doing anything, pat yourself on the back. Because you're actually doing a lot.
Wow. Okay. Hot take.
Yeah. You know what you do by just laying in bed all day? You reduce your carbon footprint.
Stop.
You're not driving, but you do,
my
right?
Boss. I can't come into work. I'm trying to reduce my carbon footprint, actually.
I feel like that's a good excuse. I can't hang out with you. I don't want to, I need to lessen my carbon footprint.
That's next level. I would stop talking to someone if they said that to me.
I know. But it's kind of witty though, right? I don't know.
It is. We can go into our Rex.
Yes.
Rexillians.
Rexillian.
Oh my god, can we start calling it that?
Yeah. So I don't see why not. Okay, so my Rexillian.
Yes.
Of a person to follow is a TikToker who goes by Modern Warrior, and we'll link him in the notes. He's just an indigenous TikToker who I feel like I like following him. I learn a lot from his account, and I don't know, I just think it's good to follow different people and follow BIPOC, and so you can learn firsthand from them.
Love it.
And then my song rec is actually a song that I randomly found out about earlier this week. It's called Easy by Aaron Taylor. And it's like kind of jazzy, kind of soul, R&B. I think the instrument at the beginning is a trumpet, which is really sad. I should know that because I used to be in band. But it's a really good song. It'll just make you feel good. So that's my song rec.
I will listen to it. My song rec is also from like literally 2 days ago or something.
Yes.
When I first listened to it. Okay. My Rexillian.
Yeah.
My Rexillian this week is Castlevania on Netflix. If you like vampires, if you've been avoiding it, it's an animated series, and like, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of The Witcher, and like, there's nothing wrong with The Witcher. I'm not attracted to it. Please watch it. It is so addicting, and the episodes are really short, and it's really funny.
What kind of show is it?
It's about vampires, about Dracula.
But like, is it dramatic? Is it kind of comedic? Is it like just?
It's a drama for sure, and I will say trigger warning, like it's pretty graphic, like violent. Like there's some points where I literally gasped at the way people died in the show.
Oh my god!
Also, like there's like some weird bestiality jokes in it, but like you can just ignore it. You can ignore it. It's just every once in a while you're like, why is that in there? But anyway, and my Rexillian song is When the Sun Comes Up by Greta Morgan, and it's also kind of like a chill song, uplifting song. So indie genre, I guess. I don't really know.
Indie. Yeah, I never know what to say. I don't know. My mind or my ears hear different genres than what they're categorized as. Because Spotify keeps telling me my number one genre is pop. Maybe I listen to a lot of pop, but I don't know.
But pop is so broad, like that could mean anything.
Yeah, because it just means popular music, right?
Yeah, basically. Well,
I guess I'm basic.
Oh my god. You are not basic. Up next, we're going to be interviewing Marlén, our friend, who is a community organizer who organizes with Cosecha in New Jersey. So look forward to that. We'll see you at the end. Bye.
Bye.
So we're about to interview Marlén, and I'll let Marlén introduce themselves.
Hi, this is Marlén. I use they, she, and ella pronouns. I live on Lenape land in New Jersey, but I'm a volunteer organizer with Movimiento Cosecha. Harvest Movement is the translation in English. But yeah, currently I'm on Cherokee and Muskogee territories in Georgia. And yeah, I'm organizing with Comunidad Inmigrante in Athens, DIA, and they work really closely with Movimiento Cosecha on a national level, but in Georgia, DIA is what's really known out here. So that's what I'm doing, and really happy to be here. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. So you mentioned Cosecha. What could you explain what they are and what they do?
Yeah, Cosecha is a national movement that fights for dignity, respect, and permanent protection for all undocumented people and people in the US. And yeah, like they're currently in 6 states where it has a base, but it's a national movement that's working towards permanent protection. So not just thinking of legalization in the context of just borders, but like what does permanent protection go beyond, right? And dignity and respect is part of that, like meeting those needs for the community. And yeah, I don't know, it's very like it's powered by the same leadership and undocumented base that is powering the movement, which is working class people and working towards a huelga, which is a strike. So that's how the method of viewing change goes into. And so I think it's really different than a lot of like nonprofits and just the way that movement power works based off of collectivity and people, and not really at all any of the like 1% or anything like that. So it's powered by the people. And yeah, I think it's like a grassroots movement. Yeah.
What have you been up to? What'd you do today?
Oof, I took my sister to work. I've been chilling, walking the dog. Had a pretty chill day today, actually. I've been just back from Georgia, like for a month-long trip, and then was in Minnesota before that. So I've been traveling around a little bit, trying to be as COVID safe as possible within doing that, but like also, yeah, the organizing stuff doesn't stop really. So it's it's all good. Community organizing. Up and down and around. But yeah, I've been doing that. I've been supporting folks that are on the front lines over at the Resistance for Line 3 on Turtle Island, like all of the Anishinaabe land, and yeah, just I'm actually not sure if I'm right with but yeah. Anyways, it's been a lot. I'm sorry, my brain is a little yeah, it's been a little bit of a long day, but emotional roller coasters and stuff within the past week. So I'm just like happy to talk to y'all. But
yeah, thank you so much. I know you said you were going through like a chaotic time, so I really appreciate you coming out, taking some time. Yeah. What exactly do you do though? You said you're organizing, but what's kind of like your role there?
Oh yeah, so I'm a community organizer. I am a volunteer community organizer, so I don't get paid for the work that I do. I organize with Movimiento Cosecha, translates to the Harvest Movement, and yeah, we've currently have a base in 6 different states throughout the country, and I think Cosecha is really powerful because it ties in a lot of the work of like environmental work. In my head, right? Like, because just harvest meaning, to like grow from the land. And it's a movement dedicated for like by and for undocumented folks to reach permanent protection, dignity and respect for all more than 11 million people that are undocumented in the US, which to me is just like a whole, like, just fighting back the racism, the xenophobia, the colonization, and like no one is entitled to land, I think. And that's a really big part of like the efforts that tie into like immigration work, like criminal justice systems, like water rights, land treaty rights, Indigenous people's rights, Black Lives Matter, like all of the rights of people, and just like that intersectionality. So I've been unemployed, but also working in like the things that I've been really enjoying. So that's been a really positive part of the pandemic for me within the past year or so, like getting to do it more full time than just like showing up to actions when I was in like school and going through DDCSP and all that. But yeah, it's been really, like, I was taking a look at some of the questions, and just like for me, intersectionality is the biggest thing that I'm feeling like I just have to relearn and unlearn a lot of the colonial structured things that growing up in Elizabeth, New Jersey is like taught me and all that. But yeah.
Can you explain what intersectionality is? Because I keep seeing it on social media, but I don't fully know its meaning.
Yeah. Intersectionality to me is like the intersection of all of the issues, right? Like what's all rooted in similar problems. So like climate change is related to like social justice, is related to environmental justice, is related to like economic justice, and all of that combined in like the ways that it all intersects. Like feminist issues are the same, right? Like and it's just taking root of like the intersections of like Asian rights, like all that we're all just people, and like so all our ways that we're oppressed tie into each other's. So yeah, that to me is intersectionality.
So yeah, you mentioned line 3 earlier. What's like the most, they're all important, but like what are the main projects you're kind of working on right now?
Well, actually, we just took like a month with some other folks that organized with Cosecha here in like the New York, New Jersey area, and we're out there supporting the Indigenous resistance out there, because Enbridge, this like really terrible fossil fuel multinational corporation that is invading on treaty rights, is like setting up shop. And actually, unfortunately, the construction of the pipeline was finished, but you know, there's been over 900 arrests that were made, and so there's like still the defendant solidarity work that's happening around that, and then there's also just like, so I think that is one of the big things that I'm starting to try to focus on a little bit more, as well as just like how that relates to the resistance of undocumented folks, like not just in New Jersey, but throughout the country, and fighting back ICE, you know, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And yeah, like the work that's getting done around like abolishing ICE. And, you know, we have this chant, and I'm really big on chants. Like that's one of the things I really love, is like the words that we put behind like the sayings at actions and marches and rallies and all of that, vigils and all that stuff, where community comes together. But yeah, I think like we have a chant that says la policía y la migra son la misma porquería, and it just like, you know, ties in what like police violence and ICE, like it's the same systems of oppression and incarceration that happen. Yeah.
That makes me so mad that like people are getting arrested for trying to have clean water and like just trying to live on their land. That is, God, this country's so messed up.
I saw this post from a friend who is one of the co-founders of the Newark Water Coalition. And that's like, so, you know, the whole issues with water and like lead in the water, that Flint, Michigan was like one of the big places that people were hearing about, like the similar things happening in Newark. It's happening like throughout the country. And it's like, some of that is like pipeline, like the pipes for the water, because in areas that are so old, like there's lead contamination, and then in other areas, like you're literally gonna like build pipelines of oil that are gonna be taking up the resources on people's land. Like all these things are just like, I see it as one connection of like the land, the water, the people, all of that. And so it's really really interesting to think about it in not just a environmental perspective, or just like a immigration perspective, or just like a criminal justice perspective, or any one perspective, but like looking at it in a, you know, decolonial mindset, or like what that looks like.
Kudos to you. I mean, I see you all the time, your posts on social media, like on the front lines. It can be scary, all the media you see, especially for Line 3, which has been really like well documented, the resistance there. Like you can see firsthand kind of the violence going on in more ways than one. I was just wondering, like, how do you keep safe like in that environment, or is it just like out of your control?
No,
do you have any tips?
I think safety in terms of like, I don't believe that the police will ever protect us. Like I do not feel safe around cops, but I do feel safe around like people that are intentionally trying to build community together. And so it's just been like, whenever we're planning actions, if there's a care team, there's groups of people that are like, you know, always down and showing solidarity for each other with like snacks, or with like words of affirmation and motivation, and like love and solidarity that's in the air of like the actions themselves, and like making sure that, you know, this is our First Amendment to go out and protest. It's our First Amendment to like say what we are, like what we as people want and need from this so-called country, which like, you know, is just a bunch of the meme or whatever that I said earlier was the US isn't even a country. It's three corporations in a trench coat. And like that is just so yeah. Sorry, I live in an area where it's very trafficked at this time, so I'm sorry about all the noise too. But yeah, like all this, I don't know, safety for me comes in like the numbers that we bring of people, and like making sure we all have each other's backs when we're out. And like it's scary sometimes being in those situations where you don't know like what cops, like the violence of cops, right? And I am like lighter skin. I have like so a lot of like, I don't want to be like a lot more privileged, but yeah, in situations where I feel more comfortable to put myself on more of a front line per se, or like, you know, working with a community, like undocumented community, that members seeing their resistance of like fighting back in front of like detention centers. That to me is like, there's so much bravery there that how can I not show up, and how can I not like be at one of those things, and like the actions, and like seeing Black folks like with their like liberation in the forefronts, and Indigenous people, like especially when they're the ones that have the biggest brutality put on them once facing like the state. It's how do we not show up and share that space and community and make sure that we're all united on that front.
I remember I went to like a protest last year, like after work, and the police were there, and it was so awkward. And then everyone was wearing no masks, and there was like people getting in my face. But I've been trying to get out more, because like I know that's just one experience, but it's like sometimes I'm like, I don't know who to trust actually. Like I don't know who's on my side anymore.
Yeah, no, it's really hard actually. Like I recently got a message yesterday, like I posted something where it was like, no, like Biden 2020 is like no more kids in cages, and then like 2021 no comma more kids in cages, right? So like the post just said like commas matter, and then someone replied back to me about how it's like a summer camp, and like, you know, I've actually worked at one of these places, it's not that bad, and this and that. Like I was like, that to me is like, I thought you were someone that was down. You're like another Latinx like environmental person in like someone that I look up to in some ways, and then in others that I'm just like, whoa, that's like some liberal shit. That's like, oh, like how do I trust? Like, but yeah, just in terms of COVID too, it's like really hard. And I've gone through points where like double masking and like face shields and all of this ridiculous helmet stuff when I like go through the airports, and yeah. I'm sometimes the only person wearing a mask in situations, but I know that like the contact that I have with community members, that I don't want them to be sick. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to like put myself out in that way. I want to just be as safe as possible. So I feel like it's a hard balance, you know?
Definitely.
Damn, you're really brave. Like, that's crazy.
Also, I saw like you've had like a lot of injuries. I was hoping it wasn't from organizing. Is that like your personal life?
No, I'm just clumsy.
Oh, okay. Thank
like,
God.
So I met you in Florida, and that was when I like broke my elbow for the first time, and now I've broken my elbow a total of 3 times.
Oh,
and
no.
Yeah. And then the last time, which was like in late May, was my elbow that had broken the first time, and then my nose, and I got a concussion all at once. So that was like,
oh
wow.
Oh my
Yeah,
so you're better now?
I am as good as a broken person is gonna get, but like
not a broken person. Stop.
No, I'm just a partial like robot, so it's cool. Like, no, I think that having been away from Jersey for a bit too, like, was really helpful, and I'm excited to leave again, because you know, it's been 25 years of being in one environment, and that's not who I am. I think like DDCSP was really helpful to like show me new places and learn to love and like adventure more so, and with like groundwork and the work that I had done before that through like environmental nonprofits was really cool. But I think I'm starting to learn more through just like the Indigenous folks and like the stories of the areas in which I like live and like occupy space. So I'm just trying to be a good relative in whatever spaces I navigate through, and figure out what life is gonna be like. And yeah, maybe less carrying too many things at once, or like, you know, being stubborn, and my little personality traits that also will help me not get injured more, hopefully.
3 times.
It's just a
what
constant.
What were you doing? How did? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so the first time I fell off a bike while I was in
Right.
like on one of the breaks that we had in.
Oh yeah.
I have okay.
That was not. I'm just really, really happy that I didn't miss the safari trip that was planned for the next day.
Oh yeah.
It was really fun. And that entire week and stuff. And then I ended up, so that was the first time that I felt like I needed surgery. And so I shattered my right radial bone or whatever. And I decided to extend my trip in Florida before I had broken my elbow, and so I didn't cancel that trip, and so it took me like a month to visit like the hospital and get it all like there. So that's like the injury that's the I feel like the longest, because of the surgery. But then like less than 6 months later, I went out to a bar in Brooklyn, went to a drag show, saw like 2 of my favorite like drag queens, and I got a little too turnt on some LITs, and I fell out of a chair and broke my other elbow. But because it was the first winter with my first broken elbow, I thought it was just that. And then the next day I realized like, no, I have to go to the hospital again. So
oh my God.
Yeah, not the best move. So that was all my last year of college too.
Oh no.
And really hard. Like literally the day before my semester began, my last year. I was like, okay. And they were like, wait, your elbow hasn't healed? And I said, no, it's the other one. And I don't think they believed me
Oh
for a
man,
while.
I mean, you know how to party.
And then the third time and last was falling down a flight of stairs because I'm clumsy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What is this, a telenovela?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that was when I broke my right elbow again. So like it re-injured a little bit of the previous, like, yeah, just like the healing that had happened. And so, I mean, long story short, my elbows are not the best, but it's chill. It's the weirdest places to like break your bones, I think. And when I fell last time, I fell on like the air conditioning. So that's how I broke my nose. And yeah, that was a lot. It's a Marlén gets injured story.
I can't even imagine like breaking my elbow. I'm glad you're better or feeling better now.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just honestly in like funny spirits about it because I don't know how I would have done it without laughing through it, because like who breaks their elbows 3 times?
Oh, you gotta start wearing like elbow pads.
Yeah. No,
aren't they probably
stronger?
heard that joke before.
I'm like, maybe they're more resilient, you know?
Yeah, isn't it like when you break a bone, it when it gets better, I don't know, heals, like it's stronger.
I mean, I hope so. I don't know. My right elbow is still just like not. It's more of like now weather changes and stuff like that. Like I feel really not the greatest, but I do like joke around that I'm part robot because I have a like a titanium elbow. So that's
well, that's definitely
there's
stronger.
like metal in there. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the thing is that I broke it. That's the one that I broke again. So like I broke a different part of my elbow. The third and hopefully final time. But
I mean, hey, that just goes to show that you're a badass, because like if you're out here like advocating and doing all this stuff with broken elbows, none of us have any excuse.
No, I think it's like, you know, everyone plays a role into like one way or the other, whether it's the like a movement that you think you're like fully belonging to. I think everyone plays a role, like whether, because I have been listening to this podcast and I really enjoy it. And the previous folks you've had on, like, I'm just like, wow, like they're doing so much. And, you know, there's some of that imposter syndrome of like, I'm like, I don't feel worthy of being on here. But then also I'm like, no, I've been doing cool shit. Like we've stopped a few deportations. We've done like a bunch of like really cool and like, I don't not just like cool things, but like, you know, the work that we do is important to share and talk about. And like, I'm really happy y'all like reached out.
Definitely.
Thank you for being on it.
And I wanted to go back to that actually, because I feel like a lot of us, like especially in South Florida, like we all know at least one undocumented person in our lives. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely like, if you're not undocumented yourself, like it's definitely an issue that everybody is affected by. So I was wondering what I could do as just like someone who has no experience, but I've always wanted to be like a community organizer, but I have no experience in it. How could I help, you know, from where I am? Because I see stuff all the time and it's mostly like donations. Like what are more like
concrete steps?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I think that's really interesting too, because I like, for me, like Cosecha isn't like just because it's in New Jersey and it's right here. Like I got happy to like connect with folks, but I know that there's like, you know, a bunch of local issues, especially with like the farmers in Florida and like all of that. Like there's a bunch of community that's out there that's organizing already and like getting in touch with some of the folks that have been doing some of that work. I understand that it's like really hard, and like sometimes it's like helping create graphics, it's helping like, you know, go to food distribution sites because like the pandemic isn't over, and like it's not even with the pandemic, like people are in need of food, in need of like rent support and stuff like that, where it's not just about like providing like charity or like aid to people at one point in time. It's about building that solidarity, and it's really, really hard to do. So I think like literally just talking to people and being like, you know, connecting on human issues is like an important thing that we don't do as often. Like I think here I feel like, oh yeah, I don't know, just canvassing and things like that are like kind of intimidating to do, but when you can do it like with a friend or you know, you start building that little network of like, all right, cool, we're gonna plant trees, or we're gonna go do this, or we're gonna pick up some trash. Like taking one step then helps lead to the next. And I think like, especially if you know anyone that's like, I'm down to like be like, oh, I can connect you with some folks I know down in Florida that are cool organizers and stuff like that. But I think like even with Doris Duke, like it's helped given me so much of a connection of people from around the country and like the world, that just building that, I don't know, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm professional, like whatever. Like, no, there is no title that you need. Like one of my regrets is like not dropping out of college to like go to the Resistance of Standing Rock. But like, you know, there's a lot of the efforts that are here local, and I'm happy that I have my degree and stuff, but just for like, you know, fulfillment of family goals and stuff. Yeah, I think that like knowing that the work that is done isn't just about like, oh, who's affiliated to an organization, but like building that power and knowing that we as like workers, we as people, and like have this innate power in us that politicians are always looking at. But in reality, like Democrat, Republican, Independent, like whatever, isn't going to solve the systemic issues. It's going to be the people who are fighting back and resisting. And like right now with all of the strikes that are happening, and like labor strikes and all of the things that are going around the country, it's like showing that we as like people collaborating together and not just seeing ourselves as individuals is the point of like what collectivism, like what our issues tying together looks like, right?
I have goosebumps.
Oh.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. No, I think, yeah, like it's really hard because I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you have to do this or that, like to be an organizer. Like there are mothers in this movement. There are like little kids, like it's make a banner, make a sign. Like that is a lot, like that showing up to something. Yeah, it's a lot. It's like how to show up and like get engaged, and like, you know, if you go to an action, there's always like sign up sheets and stuff, and like how do we just like keep talking to people and be like, hey, I know that this is like, you know, Sunrise is around, or like XR, Extinction Rebellion, or like some of these other groups that are always doing environmental stuff, but like how to connect this more with other issues and not just focusing on, oh yeah, we're an environmental org and we do this, but like environmentalist goals are tied to what people need in order to have housing, right? And like the same thing that helps us like not experience like food deserts and building that community, like growing gardens and a lot of the work that is already started up and led by Indigenous and Black folks that out in the entire world, right?
I'm gonna make my sign tonight. I'm starting my journey.
Yes, yeah, like I think there's so many important ways, like there's always needs that are come about. Like right now we've been working on with Patrick, who's someone who's detained currently in Louisiana. He's from New Jersey, like is from here. Has his family here in New Jersey, his wife and everyone, right? Like, so his wife have been fighting and his kid have been fighting ICE, like whether it's writing petitions, and then like we just push through actions and help folks continue that. So like I think whenever there's, you know, it's not just one person that's out here, like it feels so much better. So just connecting with another person that like also is down, and then like a third, and then you're like, okay, what do we want to do? And like building that trust and community is, yeah, like it's really empowering, actually. Like it helps you feel safe because it's like I'm building the world I want to live in, and that's like, I don't know, my not pessimistic side.
that was a good way to end it. We're just gonna thank you for being here. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I know you have a really busy schedule, especially right now. So appreciate it.
Thanks for all the information and for the inspiration.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what?
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna ask if there's any resources real quick to shout out that we could link in the description.
Ooh. Yeah, like the Cosecha Instagram always like updates a lot of the calls to action that are needed, and a lot of that is digital, like remote, like, hey, we need y'all to bug ice real quick, like please. Like we literally were able, with the help of like community members everywhere, to stop Patrick from being put onto a flight to Haiti. And like literally the night before, we thought there was no other chance. The morning of, like, we're over here learning that he wasn't put on the plane. Like, so, you know, there's all these efforts, all these things that are happening. I'm like, yes, like, so it's Cosecha, New Jersey, or Cosecha NJ. That's COSECHA, and that means harvest. And so it's also a national page, which is Cosecha_harvest. And yeah, that's, I think, on most socials. If you look it up, we're around, like, doing really cool things in, yeah, a bunch of states. And also Resist Line 3, which I know that their media team and stuff, like, there might be calls to action soon too, around that. And that's resist_line and then underscore and let 3.
I will definitely link them.
Cool. It was really great to be on here. I appreciate both of y'all for holding this space down.
Yeah, I hope we can meet up one day.
Yes.
Yes, please. Like, I'll go down to Florida.
You don't want to come down here.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to be the one.
I have a lot of great homies in Florida. Yeah. It's like, I think that there's that misconception too of, like, you know, the South being like so terrible and the North being so progressive. I think that's one of the big things for me too, is like, no, we're all like, there's no such thing as just like this liberal haven and like progressive like thing. Like, I think it went to the point of, like, earlier, of saying that, like, you can't trust people, but like up here sometimes it's like, you don't know, because they have their like love is love, Black Lives Matter sign on the front, but then they'll call the cops, or they'll like think that summer camps are equal to cages, or like kids in cages is like just summer camp for kids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not much better up here.
It's not even, but it's not, I agree with you. It's not even political. Like, the people down here are just like, it's the swamp water. Like, there's something in it. Like, there's a certain chaos only Florida has.
I have a question. Up there, do people have like big trucks with Trump's face on them?
What?
There are areas that have huge flags, and like New Jersey flipped like 7 counties red, like, on Tuesday, and our governorship is like very much like, honestly, there's no good options. I'm really happy that the Senate president is no longer the president. Like, it's like there's memes that just have the 2 fists like bumping each other, and it's like the left and the right, like Sweeney's out. I'm like, I can't even like, I can't even front. Like, I agree. And also, like, our governor is a millionaire who like doesn't do as much as he can, but wants to claim the title of progressive. So like in that, it's like, yeah, there are people who are, there's a lot more people. So like, you're not as, well, there's a lot of brazen stuff out here too, but I don't know. It's, yes, in some areas, and like probably secretly in their houses and others.
Ooh.
So it's depressing.
I feel like it'll be better in the future. I have a lot of hope for a lot of the people who are like coming up in politics.
I am so politically disillusioned that I totally, like, it's gone from, I was in high school like telling people like, go vote, like, yeah, and like my stance was like, this is what is going to create change, and I think after, especially the 2016 election, and like, I was so pro Bernie, and like now I'm just like, oh yeah, Bernie was endorsing Murphy and like all these other Democrats who don't have any political will to do anything. And like, it's like, I believe in the people and not any political party. And I hope that we're able to take that back through like collective strikes, collective actions, and mobilizations, because I do not trust any single politician. Yeah, even if it's like, maybe I'll vote, maybe I forget. I'm still doing some work now.
Yeah, it's like it's a lot of work, I feel like, voting, and also the options kind of suck. It's like none of them are good. There's just like relative to each other. But they're all I feel like they're all mostly out of touch. Like they don't even know what's going on in the actual world.
Yeah, that's why they're winning. Like that's why the like Republican people are winning. Like in some places, the one guy in New Jersey spent like under $5,000 on his campaign, and most of it went to Dunkin' Donuts. And yeah, he beat out like yeah, like it's like whoa, like this. But people are so tired of it that like yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're going to go worse before we get better at some points, and other points it's like, I hope we grow tired of it more than we feel like, okay, we have to put our trust in Democrats, or put our trust in Republicans, or put our trust in a Green Party or independent or libertarian, or like all these parties. And it's like, no, how about we listen to Indigenous voices, give land back, make sure that water is protected, that our air is breathable, like that. Like how about that? And
how about we secure it all before I feel that. Or like all the space travel, oh my god.
No.
Like I mean, it's cool, but is it the most important issue? No, not really.
Bye everybody.
Bye. Thanks for watching. Oh my god, thanks for listening to this episode. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Conservation Baddies.
And give us a good review.
Give us a review. You want to be reviewed?
I don't know, how much should we ask them for? Review us on Spotify, saying you love the podcast.
Yeah, give us a review if you love it.
Yeah, give us a review. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, and we're trying to get on Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Yeah,
we're trying to get in more places, so
if you want us to post somewhere, send us a message on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.